in part 6 of this indivisible series. Wait, is this part 6 or part 666? Huh? We won't be asking Ayaan, will we? No, we will not. But if we did, Ayaan would have the answer. Her newly open mind has become a dumping ground for answers and the kind of certainty she's previously bemoaned in this interview.
I mean, people say that that's what the Christians say. They say, I have my answer in this book, and I'm a humble Christian who has the answer to the biggest question of the universe and knows the truth, and there's no need for further inquiry because we have the scripture. It tells us the way things are.
I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure that's the case for a lot of Christians. And I have to tell you, on a personal level, it is wonderful to have the answer.
Talk about burying the lead. Ayaan Hirsi Ali has the answer. The biggest questions in the universe are finally answered. Praise Hitchens. And there's absolutely nothing arrogant in her saying that. It's a terrible thing when atheists seem certain of things. That's not the case, though, for believers. And how exactly did she get her answer?
And I have to tell you, on a personal level, it is wonderful to have the answer, to have this relationship with God, a God who's loving and whom I talk to and pray to and feel a sense of peace. But then on a more intellectual level, when you take the position, there is something. I think you are then much more involved mentally.
I think she's been demonstrating just the opposite, but there you have it, folks. You can unlock the mysteries of the universe and beyond simply by having a relationship with the God whose existence cannot be demonstrated, but who is loving, despite his creating evil and suffering for us, ordering genocide, etc. You can apparently talk to him, too, and feel a sense of peace. Unless you're a Muslim, or a Mormon, or a Hindu. No, wait. No, they all do that, too, and get a different answer from the one that Ayaan got. Maybe I'm just thinking here, maybe that epistemology is not sound. Or maybe this is just the stupidest shit you've ever heard.
Improving or even finding out, the curiosity is very high.
Well, Christianity is certainly known, if for nothing else, it's unbridled curiosity. Right, Augustine? From this disease of curiosity are all those strange sights exhibited in the theater. Hence, men go on to search out the hidden powers of nature, which is besides our end, which to know profits not, and wherein men desire nothing but to know.
It's finding out, well, if there's something, what is it then?
So she says there's something more, but she doesn't really know what it is, despite her having the answer, which she says is Jesus and God. And that makes her a more curious person than an atheist? Can one person be more confused and confusing?
And where can I find it? So I think that opens up just a whole lot more.
But you've simply assumed there's something more. If you hear a sound outside your window at night, do you leap to some wild conclusion like it's a leprechaun? When no one can even demonstrate the existence of leprechauns? Don't you think it's probably just the wind or a bunny? Ayaan Hirsi Ali, leprechaun hunter.
In terms of learning and reading and finding out and, in the time that I became a Christian, I've also been approached by people saying, hang on, there is something, but it's not necessarily Christianity. It's something else. There's an energy, and people are giving it all sorts of names.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like once you've just decided that there's this something more, you really have no way to determine what exactly that something more is, which kind of makes you wonder why any of us should care. Maybe, hear me out, maybe there's more than enough to care about right here in the the here and now. Maybe we should just focus our time and efforts on that stuff. Just a thought.
But that's, I think that stance, that mental stance, it provides for more curiosity than the position where there's nothing, I can't be bothered.
Or there's nothing more than my holy book, and I can't be bothered. God has given us everything we need to know in His holy word. Ayaan, are you aware that what you're talking about is not what Christianity gave the world, but rather the fruits of the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, neither of which says there's nothing? Indeed, the entire scientific endeavor is to discover what we don't know, and that there is indeed more to know. Again, I don't know a single atheist who isn't nuts about that project. But again, so far, every cause we've discovered while searching for something more has been the result of natural processes. Do you know what we have discovered about your something more? Do you know what we know now about the existence of the supernatural realm and the supernatural beings who allegedly inhabit that world, which shepherds in the field 4,000 years ago didn't know? Absolutely nothing. We have discovered and can demonstrate nothing about your more. Meanwhile, those curious, non-religious scientists have cured disease, put a man on the moon, landed a probe on a comet, and put telescopes into space which can show us things we couldn't have possibly imagined going on in the very early universe. All while your loving God performs miracle after miracle here, like appearing on toast or other bread products, instead of saving the 15,000 children who starve to death every day. Let me explain something to you. There's something called the paradox of knowledge. The paradox is that the more we learn, understand, and come to know things, the more we understand how much more there is to learn, understand, and know. So the religious who prey on people's ignorance will always be able to point to the next unknown and say, hey, aha, there He is. There's God right there in that gap in our knowledge. Until we close that gap and the religious move on to the next one. And there will always be a next one because of the paradox of knowledge.
You said before, I choose to believe. It sounded to me as if you'd been convinced by your personal experience that there's something, and Christianity resonated with you on like a moral level or on an existential level, then faced with this worldview that comes packaged along with it, that there was a man who was born of a virgin and died on a cross and exited a tomb, that you choose to believe that. A lot of people will look at that not so much with criticism, but with astonishment. I mean, my listeners know that I'm somebody who would love to be a Christian. I'd love for it to be true. How do you choose to believe in something?
Well, I think I probably chose with my feet to begin with, because I came for certain things when I came to the West, and I wanted to be seen as a human being. I wanted to make choices. I didn't want to be forced into a marriage that I didn't want to be in.
When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her for thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and mother for a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. That's not Islam, Ayaan. That's your infinitely loving and wise Jesus commanding Moses on how to treat or rather rape female prisoners of war. You might want to do a 180 with those choosy feet of yours.
I wanted to tell the truth. I came from an environment ruled by fear and terror, so you lie to survive. You're always dishonest. You're always hiding what you want, what you really want, because you're worried about the punishments.
Yes. You came from a world where the Islamic candy-coated version of the tribal war god of Abraham had worldly power. Are you really unaware that when the Christian candy-coated version of that very same god had worldly power, people lived with that same exact fear and terror? People got on tiny little boats, risking their lives to cross an unforgiving ocean just to get away from what Christianity had wrought. Does the fact that we have to fear these religions gaining worldly power not tell you everything you need to know about them?
So I wanted to be honest and lead an honest, transparent life, a life of integrity. I wanted to have real, true, fulfilling friendships and relationships. And so as I see these are my values. And then on a political level, political freedom, which is institutions that seek to ensure that you can have this life of freedom and prosperity and so on.
Is that what Christianity brought the world for the 1,200 years or so, when it had all the power in the world to make the world in its image, following its doctrines and values to the letter? No, not even slightly. You have that freedom and prosperity in the West, Ayaan, because religion was neutered by folks inspired by the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, both reviled by many in the Christian world at the time. You have that freedom and prosperity because of our godless Constitution, which secured those rights and kept religion at bay. And now I have to keep this interview at bay, which is my right, secured by my writing and editing skills. But don't think we're done. There's still a lot more here to come. Did you know that Richard Dawkins was a Christian? Who knew, right? Well, Ayaan knew. In fact, I'm a Christian too. Okay, now I really am sick. Until next time, I'm me. Thanks for watching.